$41,000 cleared into your account last month without you lifting a finger. Your mortgage is $2,200. Yet at 9:14 on a Tuesday morning, you are badging into an office for a job that was quietly eliminated 2 years ago. The badge reader makes the same small green chirp it always makes. Bridget, 2 desks over, doesn't look up, but a folded section of the break room paper is already sitting on your keyboard, the crossword torn out clean along the fold. Today's date circled in pen at the top the way she always circles it. She has never once asked why you're always the one still here at 5 when half the floor clears out by 4:30 on a Tuesday. She just leaves the crossword and lets you have whatever it is you're having. You hang your jacket on the back of the chair, the same hook every morning. Nothing about the room suggests anything is different today. You are the only person in it who knows that isn't quite true. You open your laptop. 6 unread emails, 4 of them automated. 1, a calendar invite for a meeting you're not required to attend. 1 from Bridget with no subject line, just a link to a puzzle site. Sent at 8:59, before she even sat down. 12 down is brutal, she says, not looking over, sliding her chair back to grab something off the printer. I got stuck on it for 10 minutes before I gave up and came to work. It's the most words she's said to you in a single sentence in about 3 weeks. You tell her you'll take a look. Please. She's already back at her screen by the time you say it, and you're not sure she hears you at all. You solve 4 clues of the crossword before your coffee's cool enough to drink, the way you do most mornings, and you notice, not for the first time, that this small ritual with a woman who has never once asked you a real question is one of maybe 3 things all day that actually feels like it's happening to you rather than around you. You do not, if you are honest with yourself standing here this morning, actually know why you keep coming in. You have run through the easy answers enough times that they've started to feel like excuses even to you. Habit. You tell yourself some mornings. Boredom. Other mornings, though boredom has never once been a problem you couldn't solve with a book or a long drive. You haven't landed on the real one yet, and you are 36 years old, which feels like too old to still be guessing at your own motives. You retired, in the only sense that number cares about, at 34. Your grandmother left you $26,000 when you were 26, a modest inheritance you almost put toward a car, and instead put entirely into a single stock. A friend from college kept talking about at a barbecue, a bet that felt reckless at the time and looks, in hindsight, like the only genuinely important financial decision you've ever made. You didn't touch it. You watched it double, then triple, then do something to itself over the next several years that stopped feeling like a number you could relate to at all. You cashed out at 34, paid the taxes, a check to the government larger than every salary you'd earned up to that point combined, moved the rest into something boring and diversified, and have not needed a paycheck since, a fact exactly 4 people on this earth know, and none of them work at Colston Group. Your role here was called Senior Operations Analyst, and it stopped existing, in any functional sense, during a reorganization 2 years ago that eliminated the entire reporting chain above you without anyone quite getting around to eliminating you. Your old manager took a package and left. The new structure absorbed your team's work into a different department entirely. Somewhere in the handoff, a headcount line with your name on it simply kept renewing itself, quarter after quarter. And you have spent 2 years showing up to a desk that technically belongs to a function nobody at this company could accurately describe if you asked them. Someone from facilities rolls a cart past your desk around 10, restocking the printer paper. Morning, he says, not really looking at you, on autopilot the way he says it every day. Morning, you say back, the same way. It's the kind of exchange that happens 40 times a day in this building and means nothing, and it still, somehow, tethers you back into the room for a second before your mind drifts off again. At 10:40, a calendar invite appears with no warning. A meeting with someone named Griffin Ashworth, VP of Operations. A name you recognize from an all-hands email 8 months ago and have never once spoken to directly. The subject line says Headcount Review, nothing else, no agenda attached, and you sit there doing the kind of math you haven't had to do in 2 years. Not about money, about consequences, about what actually happens if a man with a title like that looks at your role and asks the obvious question out loud in a room instead of letting it renew itself quietly for a 3rd year running. You tell yourself, walking to the conference room at 2, that it doesn't matter. You do not need this job. You could stand up right now, walk out, and never think about Colston Group again, and the mortgage would still clear, and the account would still fill itself back up next month, effortlessly. Without your help. You notice, arriving at the door, that telling yourself that hasn't made your hands stop being cold. Griffin Ashworth is younger than you expected, maybe 32, with the specific brisk energy of someone who has been told he is very good at making hard decisions and has decided to enjoy that reputation. He doesn't waste time on pleasantries. He has a printed org chart in front of him, and he taps your name on it twice with a pen before he says anything, the same way some people tap a fact they already know is inconvenient. So, I've been through this org chart twice now, he says, and I can't find where your role actually sits. Not accusing you of anything. I just need to be able to explain what you do to someone above me by Friday. And right now, I can't. You give him an honest answer, or the closest thing to one you can manage, walking him through the reports you still generate, the ones 3 other departments quietly rely on, without ever crediting the source. The reconciliation work that fell through the cracks of the reorg and landed, by accident, entirely on you. He asks a few sharp follow-up questions, the kind that make it clear he's actually listening, and stops writing entirely at one point to ask whether anyone else at the company could reproduce the specific spreadsheet you're describing if you disappeared tomorrow. You tell him honestly that you don't think so. He nods slowly, the first unguarded expression he's shown all meeting. Okay, that's actually more than I expected, he says. Came in thinking this was probably a redundant line. Might still be, structurally, but the work's real. That much is obvious. Give me till Friday. He stands, shakes your hand, firm, brief, and that's the entire meeting. 11 minutes, no verdict, nothing resolved, and you walk back to your desk, carrying a version of uncertainty you have not felt in exactly 2 years. You spend the rest of Tuesday and all of Wednesday running the same loop, except now it has a deadline attached. Maybe Friday ends this cleanly, a redundant line quietly closed, and you go be whatever it is you'd be without a badge that chirps green at 9:14. Maybe Friday changes nothing, and you keep doing exactly what you're doing, minus the 2 years of wondering whether anyone would ever ask. Or maybe, and this is the possibility you keep circling back to without meaning to, Friday makes you actually answer the question you've been avoiding since you cashed out that stock. What you're actually doing here, and why the answer matters enough to make your hands cold outside a conference room for a job you don't need. You catch yourself, Wednesday afternoon, mentally drafting an argument for why the role should stay, and you stop halfway through a sentence about reconciliation workflows because you realize you are advocating, quietly, urgently, for the continued existence of a job that pays you a salary your investment account clears in roughly a day and a half. It should feel absurd. It mostly just feels true. Bridget leaves you the crossword again Thursday morning. Same fold, same circled date, and this time, without looking up from her screen, she says, "You've seemed off since Tuesday." It's the first personal observation she's made about you in 2 years of sitting 8 feet away, and you almost tell her the whole thing right there. The stock, the account, the 2 years of showing up to a job that doesn't need you, the meeting that might end it. You get as far as opening your mouth, the sentence half-formed, something like it's complicated sitting right behind your teeth. What comes out instead is that work's just been a lot lately, which is true in the narrowest possible sense, and not at all true in the sense that matters. She nods, mentions offhand that her daughter has a dentist appointment at 11, so she'll be out for a bit, and goes back to her screen, and the crossword sits there, half done, the way it always does by lunch. Friday at 9, Griffin's assistant emails to say the review is being folded into a broader function and no immediate changes are needed. Effective immediately, no meeting required. 4 sentences. No explanation for what changed his mind or whether anything did. You read it twice. You feel something you have trouble naming right away. Not relief exactly, though there's relief in it. Something closer to the specific disappointment of an answer that resolves the practical question without ever touching the real one. The job isn't ending. You still don't know why that matters to you. You sit with the email open for a long time, long enough that Bridget glances over once. 12 downs still open, she says, nodding at yesterday's crossword still folded on your desk, not making it a question, which is exactly how she makes it one. You tell her you'll get to it. She slides the second half onto your desk anyway, the half neither of you finished, like she's decided this is the way she's going to check on you without ever asking a direct question. You look at it for a while without picking up a pen, sitting at a desk you don't need, in a job that survived a review by accident, and you go home that Friday without finishing it, the unsolved half still sitting there Monday morning when you come back in, untouched, waiting. It was never the paycheck. You knew that the day you cashed out. It was never the title either, or the 11 minutes with a VP who almost ended it and then didn't. It's this, specifically, the small mechanical order of a badge chirping green at the same time every morning. A woman who has never once needed an explanation from you leaving a folded piece of paper on your keyboard. 4 unsolved clues waiting for a coffee to cool. Retirement, the actual thing, the version where nobody needs you anywhere at any specific time, was never a reward waiting for you at 34. It was a blank calendar with your name on every square, and nothing written in any of them, and you have spent 2 years quietly choosing, every single morning, not to find out what that actually feels like. You think about the version of yourself who took the severance conversation Griffin almost had with you, who walked out Friday with nothing left to structure a day around. And you cannot picture what that person does at 9:14 on a Tuesday. The following Tuesday, you badge in at 9:14. Same green chirp, same handful of early desks, same overhead lights warming up. Bridget's chair is empty. Her coffee mug is out, the crossword page already torn from the paper and sitting on her own desk instead of yours, half started, her handwriting in the first 3 clues. You stand there a second longer than the moment requires, recalibrating something you didn't know you'd built an expectation around until it wasn't there. You walk over, actually walk over, which is not a thing you have done in 2 years of sitting 8 feet from this woman waiting for her to come to you. Getting coffee. You say, "You want one?" She looks up, mildly surprised, like the sentence itself is the unusual part, not the offer. "Black," she says. "Thanks." She goes back to 12 down before you've even turned around. You come back with 2 coffees instead of 1, and you don't say anything about the stock or the account or Griffin, or any of the 2 years of reasons you've been quietly rehearsing and discarding since last Tuesday. You just set the coffee down, sit at your own desk, and start on the puzzle from your side this time, working toward the middle instead of waiting for her half to arrive on your keyboard. "You're doing it wrong," she says, not looking over. 8 across isn't ocean, it's 4 letters. You tell her you were getting there. She doesn't ask why you're suddenly doing it at all, instead of waiting for her to finish it first. She just slides her half 2 inches closer to yours, and for the first time in 2 years, you're doing the same crossword, at the same desk, on purpose, instead of one of you doing it and the other one showing up after. Nobody on this floor sees a man who doesn't need to be here. They see a man who's always here, steady, reliable, the guy who does the reconciliation work nobody else wants. What they're actually looking at, this particular Tuesday, is someone who could have left at any moment for 2 straight years and finally, once, did the one thing that was never actually required of him. Walked 8 feet across a floor, on purpose, toward the only part of any of this that was ever real.